Hello and welcome to an exclusive interview with a very experienced hotelier who's going to bring us a lot of news about the way in which his brands are working in Indonesia. Welcome to Marco Groten. The Dutch name is a little difficult to pronounce. Most people call him Groten, so that's where we'll go. He's the relatively newly appointed Area Vice President of Hyatt Hotels for Indonesia, which now include a whole bunch of new brands, which we hope he'll be able to tell us much more about. But his background and experience are much less formal than the Hyatt brand, having learned the lifestyle luxury trade at Soneva, Six Senses, and Alila. So he brings a whole new perspective to an already established and respected group in the Hyatt hotels here in Indonesia. Welcome, Marco. Please tell us much more about the Hyatt brands in Indonesia, how they fit together, who you are targeting for each sector, and how the whole thing works. It's a very complicated business for us now. Thank you.
Yeah, that's correct, Alistair, and good morning to you, and thank you for having me. Indeed, it's a bit daunting when you look at all these different brands that large hotel companies have nowadays. And Hyatt has a total of 18 brands that we are exploring. In order to make it a little bit easier, we've actually segregated these brands into 3 different portfolios. So the first one is the Timeless portfolio, and the Timeless portfolio is very much the well-known Hyatt brands like Park Hyatt, Grand Hyatt, Hyatt Regency, and these are more the traditional brands, and we go into detail a little bit more per brand. We've also separated another group of hotels and brands under the name of Boundless portfolio, and these are more our lifestyle hotels. Some of them we have in Indonesia, and then we have an independent collection. So these are what we call hotels that are unique in their way, and we support them from the back, but we as Hyatt are not known in the name, or we are not known in the way we bring these brands to the market. So going back to what we have available here in Indonesia, currently we have the Grand Hyatt, of course. We have one in Jakarta and one in Bali, where I'm currently located. And the Grand Hyatt brand is very much a large hotel company with a lot of facilities that basically caters to families, but also to meeting spaces. And it's really very much for celebrating. We have them in cities, and we have them in resort areas like in Bali. But what you'll see is that they are the largest hotels that we actually have. Then we have Hyatt Regency, which is also part of the Timeless portfolio. And the Hyatt Regency, in technical terms, as hoteliers we always say, these are our upper upscale hotels. Now that's for the general audience, maybe not a term they're used to, but these are our 4 to 5 star hotels that are basically, depending on the location where they're in, they're catering to guests that are looking for an affordable sort of stay. Again, depending on the location where they are, they will have meeting facilities. Here in Indonesia, we have 2 of them. We have one in Jogja, and we have the Hyatt Regency in Bali. And they're also catering to families, obviously, in those areas. They're less ground, less in terms of size, but they are very much catering to the markets where they are. And so that gives you a bit of an idea. Then in the Boundless portfolio, so the lifestyle collection, we have different brands. First of all, we have Alila. So Alila was acquired by Hyatt back in 2019, and Alila is actually a homegrown brand. So it's from Indonesia. We started our first Alila hotel in Pecenongan in Jakarta, and then we grew it through various ways. And we at the moment have 6 hotels and a wooden Fenici that we're having here in Indonesia. The Alila hotels, they are there to craft rare and intimate life experiences, as we call them. So these sort of matters really have to do with being local, trying to look at the design aspect of the brand, and integrate in the areas where we really operate these hotels. Another brand that we just recently launched in Bali is our Andas hotels. And the Andas hotels are there to stimulate the senses through distinctively local experiences. They come very close, Alila and Andas. And I often get the question, okay, what is the difference then? Well, I would say that the Alila brand is more focused on the environmental part. And again, it's about creating these sort of journeys and experiences for guests in order to see the local environment through the eyes of a local while you're being on holiday. As well, Andas is more playful and it is non-scriptive, as we call it, in order to make sure that we cater to any guest that would want to come in. But there are less standards compared to our other brands. And then last but not least, there will be one more brand that we're introducing shortly to Indonesia, and that will be the Park Hyatt. Park Hyatt is really our high-end brand. It's a boutique hotel, small, and it's the best of the best that has been presented in that. So this hotel will open sometime next year.
Fantastic. Quite a lot to manage at the moment. And of course, all of them, I'm sure, are suffering during this COVID pandemic, which has really hit the industry in Bali and across the country rather badly. We hope that we'll begin to see some end to that soon. There's still this discussion about reopening Bali, which seems a little bit difficult at the moment, but let's hope that we'll find some way of revitalizing the business as soon as they can open. But as we start to come out of COVID, and I'm sure you're planning this with all of your general managers, with all of your teams, what are the priorities for Hyatt Hotels? How are you planning to do this marvelous thing, building back better?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, and we're still exploring, to be honest, on this, Alistair. There is every day new data that we get or new things that we discover, and where we constantly need to be very agile in order to follow what the market dictates or what a customer, a guest is expecting from us in the hotels. But yeah, we have started fairly soon after the outbreak of the pandemic with various measurements in the hotels. Obviously, the first part was very much focused on cleanliness, hygiene. And one of the things, for instance, what we did was we appointed a hygiene manager in every single hotel in order to ensure that we follow all these new standards that we have set up. It's not only the social distancing, but it's also the way we clean our hotels. It's the way how we have, for instance, a hotel room available for a period of time after a guest is checking out, just to be 100% safe. It's also the way how we educate our team members. It's also to do with the daily routines we have in our operations. All of these things have changed, and these changes are there to stay. They will not go back to what we knew before. We've learned and we've adapted, but we also realized that things can be done in a different way, and that's how we will continue to go forward. In terms of recovery, what we see is that the recovery of the leisure market is first before the business traveler. And that's obviously what we see in various destinations in Indonesia at the moment. The weekends are quite busy in some of our hotels, like in Solo and in Jogja, as where the weekdays are maybe not as busy as they were before. So we need to cater to that. And also in cities like Jakarta, where we have a lot of staycations, we need to make sure that these sort of packages and these sort of hotel guests are entertained and they have the right sort of facilities in order to enjoy their stay. So we become more focused on that leisure first before we go back to that business traveler. Business traveler will look for point-to-point flights. They will not want to have flights that are stopping somewhere in between. So that's something that we need to keep in mind, and so that business will take a bit longer. Also, we have learned, obviously, through this pandemic that a lot of the things that we were doing before in person could actually be done through the means of Zoom calls or any other platform as well. So that will also affect our business, and we need to work around that. What we have done in the Grand Hyatt Bali, we've recently launched our hybrid meetings, and we have set up a studio in one of our meeting rooms where we're working with a professional third party that is basically catering to a platform that will help to facilitate hybrid meetings. For those that are not aware what hybrid meetings are, what we see is that more and more things happen online, and we're talking also about large meetings, so participants up to 5,000 people that come online together, and where at the same time there may be people coming together in different locations. So you could, for instance, have the Grand Hyatt Bali that has 50 participants, but at the same time there may be 50 participants in another city, like in Hong Kong or in Melbourne. So what we've done at Grand Hyatt Bali is we have basically set up a studio where it's a professional film studio, where we have all the facilities and equipment to host this, but also to pre-record certain sessions for these hybrid meetings. We have a platform which is called On Air, and On Air gives many more professional sort of opportunities apart from the usual platforms that we use. So for instance, you can host up to 5,000 people at the same time in a meeting like this. You can have things translated simultaneously in various languages. You can basically do polling. You can have different up to 50 concurrent breakout sessions on this platform. People can give live questions to speakers in a forum like this. So there's many different things that we'll do. And the most important with these hybrid meetings actually is that you have the technical facilities, but also the technical support, because there are always things that will not go 100% right. And you need to have professionals that help you out with these sort of meetings. So we see going forward, Alistair, that this will be very much a part of reviving our what we call MICE business, so the meetings, incentives, the congresses and events, in order to make sure that we see those guests returning to a certain extent to our hotels as well, because life will not be the same, and we need to adapt and be agile and change things wherever we need.
It sounds that you've put a great deal of thought into this, you and your team. I'm very impressed with the studio. That's something which I think is quite innovative and certainly leads the market in facilitating something which is evolved out of these challenges. It's been, a lot of evolution is necessary. Everyone talks about pivoting, but pivot to where? So you've come up with something very special there. I'm sure that's going to be adaptable to other hotels in your group as well. So that's a very good thing to see. As you say, changes are here to stay, which we just have to live with. Normally, you and I would be meeting face to face. Now we're meeting 1,000 kilometers apart, but it's still a good way of doing things. We hope that business will come back. We know that you will be ready for it. But are you complete? You're very focused on Java and Bali with your portfolio. The rest of Indonesia seems to be a little bit in need of some Hyatt Alila support. The Park Hyatt, you said, is going to open probably the beginning of next year, which is good. That gives you another city center. But there seems to be a lot of cities who are missing the Hyatt presence. What other plans do you have?
Yeah, that's a good question, Alistair. And that's one of the reasons why I was so excited to come back to Indonesia, because there are indeed many opportunities in Indonesia, and we see especially these second-tier cities that are growing very fast, and where there's a lot of opportunities for us in the hotel business in the future. First of all, quickly going back on Park Hyatt. Yeah, Park Hyatt is a hotel that has been in the making for quite some time, but we want to make sure that we get it absolutely right. And what you'll see is that we're putting the last bits and pieces together. Obviously, we have been affected by COVID, and progress has not been as what we had hoped initially. But we're hopeful that we will be opening in January or February next year with the Park Hyatt, and then we will be able to unveil something truly unique to Jakarta. I'm sure that closer to the date we can talk further about this. But it's a very special hotel, and I was there last week, and I think we're making good progress for that opening beginning of 2022. When it comes to the rest of Indonesia, I'm very excited about bringing new destinations to the guests that would like to stay in one of the Hyatt hotels. And indeed, we're working on various projects in different parts of Indonesia. Although the pandemic is slowing things down, we still see that there are developers that are very interested to do something different. At the same time, there are also existing hotels that see the need of becoming part of a bigger organization, and where we will probably be able to add value for them in the short, but also in the long run. So there's a lot of things happening at the moment, and what I foresee is that there will be new brands of the Heart portfolio that we are going to bring to Indonesia. We're at the moment in talks with various partners regarding Labuan Bajo and Komodo. That is a very interesting destination, and one of the destinations that the government is actively promoting. We have also a project on the go in Lombok, which will be an Alila hotel, which we're very excited about as well, because Lombok has always been an interesting destination, and we're actually looking at a very different part of Lombok where there's hardly anything at this point of time yet. So we think that the Alila brand with that crafting of experiences is the perfect way to introduce that part of Lombok. But we're also looking at Makassar, and where we will be working with one of our existing partners on one new Hyatt brand that we will be introducing there as well. These are all projects that are on the go. Obviously, pandemic will slow down the progress of these sort of matters, but these are all things that we're looking at. In terms of the cities in different parts of Indonesia, yes, the focus is still very much on Java, because that's where a lot of the business takes place. But we're also looking at Sumatra, and what else can we add on to there? Things are too premature to mention, but I am confident that within the next 2 to 3 years, we see Hyatt hotels outside of the existing Bali and Java islands for sure.
Fantastic. There's 120 million people roughly in Java, but that means there's 150 million in the other islands. So, so the balance of business probably will grow there, and there's certainly a lot of cities are underserved, as you say, that they're got some hotels, but not of the same standard as the Hyatt and Alila brands. We wish you the very best of luck with all your plans. We've talked about what the brands stand for, and that allows our listeners and our readers to try and perhaps try something new. I think there's the Andas is certainly somewhere which is going to prove very popular. And I know that Jakarta's cognoscenti will be dying for the Park Hyatt to open an experience, which I believe is going to be a very food and beverage oriented product as well. So thank you very much for your explanations of that. We're extremely interested in the way in which a top hotel group attacks the challenge of making things better post-COVID or even during COVID. And I think you've explained that extremely well. And as for the portfolio, well, I can't wait to try other places. I'm a great fan of Lombok. I think it's been underserved for many years, and I think that's somewhere that could be very, very useful as an additional portfolio for Indonesia as a destination, another destination. So, Marco, on behalf of now Jakarta, now Bali, and now Indonesia, our new podcast, would very much like to thank you. And you and the Hyatt team all over Indonesia. I've experienced your hospitality in almost every property that you have, and I've never had a bad moment. Thank you very much. Good luck to you, and good luck to all of your team.
Thanks a lot, Alison. Much appreciated.
Thank you for being with us today.